Have you ever wondered why smart people end up broke, unhappy, and frustrated, even though they know exactly what they should do? It sounds absurd, doesn't it? But let me tell you something that might change everything you believe. What you know has almost nothing to do with the results you get. Yes, you heard that right. I've met people with degrees, PhDs, extraordinary intelligence, and yet they still lived with debt, illness, and broken relationships. The problem isn't knowledge. The problem is the paradigm. Have you ever thought about why it's so hard to change your life even when you try so hard? Even when you read the right books, take the right courses, listen to the right advice, and nothing changes. I've lived through that. For a long time, I believed that if I just worked harder, things would get better. But that didn't happen. I stayed broke, sick, and unhappy. One day, someone told me, "Bob, your results never lie. They're shouting at you exactly where your problem is." That was the start of my turnaround. What I discovered, and I want you to pay close attention to this, is that nothing truly changes in our lives until we change our paradigm. And maybe you don't even know what that means. I didn't know either. Most people don't. And that's why they live their entire lives within an invisible pattern that controls their thoughts, decisions, behaviors, and results. A paradigm is a set of deeply ingrained ideas, beliefs, and habits in your subconscious mind. And listen closely, it's not there because you chose it. It was installed by your family, school, society, television, and everything you heard, saw, and felt, even before you learned to speak. And this paradigm not only shapes how you think, it also determines what you allow or don't allow to come into your life. Want proof? Ask yourself, how many times have you turned down an opportunity because you thought it's not the right time? How many times have you thought this isn't for me? How many times did you have a brilliant idea but put it off, and that later never came? These decisions don't come from your conscious mind. They come from your paradigm. Because the paradigm, unlike the conscious mind, doesn't reason. It just acts. I remember a time in my life when I earned $4,000 a year and I owed $6,000. I had no perspective, no formal education, and no one in my family who had ever succeeded in life. This is the hardest part, but also the most liberating. You can have all the knowledge in the world, take all the courses, listen to all the experts, but if you don't change the paradigm, your results will remain the same. I have seen this thousands of times. Brilliant people with extraordinary technical knowledge, living with debts, broken relationships, stagnated. Because knowledge is in the conscious mind, but the subconscious controls behavior. And that's where the paradigm is installed. Want a practical example? How many people do you know who know how to save money, know they need to invest, understand the logic, but still can't get out of the red? This isn't stupidity. This is unconscious programming. The paradigm says money is dirty, rich people are greedy, I'm not deserving, and the person keeps trying to grow while an invisible anchor pulls them back. Now stop and look at your life. Truly. Are you living what you really want? Are you earning what you would like? Are you with who you would like? Are you doing what you love? It's hard, I know, but it's liberating. Because when you realize that your results are a direct consequence of a program that was installed without your consent, you understand that you can install a new one. But be careful. This doesn't happen just with positive affirmations or magical thinking. It requires awareness, repetition, and emotion. You need to observe your own patterns. Identify the thoughts that come automatically. Recognize the excuses you make for yourself and start questioning them. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology revealed that up to 95% of daily decisions we make are unconscious. Do you understand what that means? It means your day-to-day is basically a repetition of your past. You wake up and relive yesterday, every day, until one day you decide to break the cycle. And do you know what that requires? A decision. The decision to change, to act differently, to think differently, to see yourself differently. But the decision alone is not enough. You need to replace the paradigm. You need to train your mind as if you were learning a new language, because in practice you actually are. You are teaching your brain to think like a prosperous, capable, healthy, and deserving person. You may not believe it now, but I invite you to try this. For 1 week, observe the thoughts you repeat mentally. Write them down, identify them, and whenever a limiting thought appears, replace it with a new one. Do this consciously, and if you think, "Bob, this is hard for me," I've tried to change before and failed, I understand, because I also thought I couldn't. I was a guy with no education, full of debts and illnesses. But I discovered it wasn't me failing. It was my paradigm not letting me win. And when I changed that paradigm, everything changed, not slowly, not gradually, but like an explosion. Because life doesn't respond to your will. It responds to your internal vibration. And your vibration is a direct result of what you believe to be true, of your paradigm. If you're listening to this now, it's because a part of you is ready for change. And the first step is this: awareness. Wake up, notice, observe, because only when you see the prison can you start building the key. And that key, my friend, it's called a new paradigm, chosen by you, nourished by you, installed by you. When this happens, get ready, because the life that seemed impossible will start to unfold before your eyes, like it has always been there, waiting for you to wake up. If there is one specific moment that changed everything for me, it was the day I made a decision so simple yet so powerful that it became the turning point of my life forever. I was at rock bottom. I had no money, no education, and no prospects. But I had one thing: dissatisfaction, and that dissatisfaction was painful. I didn't like the life I was living, but I also didn't know how to change it. I thought I had to work harder, try harder, and wait for luck to knock on my door. But nothing happened. Then a man handed me a book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He looked me in the eye and said, "Bob, if you do exactly what this book says, your life will change completely." And you know what? I believed him. For the first time in my life, I believed in something different. I decided to follow that book to the letter, and that's when everything started to change. See, most people wait for an opportunity, for a sign from the universe, for a push from fate. But the truth is, life changes the moment you decide to change. But this isn't just any decision. It's a firm decision, non-negotiable. A decision that comes from within, from your spirit, that says, "I will no longer live like this." And that's what I said to myself. I decided to stop looking at the reasons why I thought I couldn't win. Because let's be honest, you'll always find an excuse to stay where you are. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have support. I was born in the wrong family. It's too late. But when you choose to ignore all those voices and focus on just one thing, what you really want, everything starts to change. I decided I would apply what was in that book. And I started with what I could do, work. At that time, the only thing I knew how to do was clean offices. So that's what I did. But with one difference. I started cleaning those offices with a new spirit. I put in energy, enthusiasm, and excellence. Every floor I waxed felt like I was paving the way to my freedom. And the results came. I started earning around $250 more per month, then $650 more. And before I knew it, I was expanding my operation to other cities, New York, Chicago, London, and all of this in less than 5 years. But let me be clear with you, it wasn't the job that made me grow. It was the mindset with which I did that job. I already saw myself as someone prosperous. I imagined my bank account growing. I saw my children having access to a life I never had. I started thinking as if I had already become what I wanted to be. And this, my friend, is a universal law. You become what you think about all the time. You attract what you are in harmony with. But no one teaches you this in school. School teaches you to memorize, repeat, and obey. It doesn't teach you to create, to visualize, to feel. That's why so many brilliant people live frustrated, stuck in jobs they hate. They have financial lives that barely cover their bills, believing they have no options. But the option has always been there. It's in making the decision. And here's a question I'm going to ask you that maybe no one has ever asked you. Have you really decided to change? Or are you just waiting for life to change for you? Because as long as you don't decide, the world will decide for you. Most people live in a boring cycle. They wake up tired, work at a job they don't love, go home exhausted, and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it again. But when you consciously decide to change the direction of your life, your energy changes, and new opportunities and paths begin to open up. This isn't magic, it's physics. Your frequency changes, and that frequency attracts other people, other ideas, and other circumstances that align with that frequency. Have you ever noticed that when you're motivated, inspired, and focused, everything seems to flow? That's not a coincidence. That's you aligning with the frequency of what you desire. I wasn't special. I was an ordinary man with an ordinary past doing an ordinary job, but I made an extraordinary decision to stop believing that I was my story. I started writing a new story. I didn't know how it would all unfold, but I knew what I wanted, and that's the most important thing. The how never comes before the decision. It comes after you fully commit. When you decide, your brain stops doubting and switches to action. A study from Stanford University showed that people who make decisions with clarity and commitment are 4 times more likely to achieve their goals. When you decide, your brain switches from doubt mode to action mode, and that's when the universe begins to respond. Now understand something important. Deciding is not desiring. Desire is weak. Everyone desires something. Deciding is committing even without guarantees. Do you think I wasn't afraid? I was very afraid. Afraid of failing, afraid of being embarrassed, afraid of losing what little I had. But fear is not a sign that you should stop. Fear is simply an indicator that you are stepping out of your comfort zone. And that's exactly where things begin to happen. Maybe you're listening to me now and thinking, Bob, I don't know where to start. And I tell you, start by deciding. Decide what you want, write it down, read it aloud, visualize. Then take the first step. It can be small, but it should be in the direction of what you want. Because when you do that, the world starts moving in your favor. What once seemed impossible starts to feel inevitable. That's what happened to me. It happened to thousands of people I've worked with throughout my life. And it can happen for you too, but only if you decide. And only you can make that decision. No one can decide for you. Don't wait for someone to give you permission to dream. Don't wait for the world to tell you that everything is right to start. Start with fear. Start small, but start. And remember, what transformed my life wasn't the money that came afterward. It was the decision I made beforehand. That decision was quiet, personal, internal, solitary, but it was the seed of everything that came afterward. If you make that decision now, you can be sure, 1 year from now, your life won't be the same. And it will all start in a moment like this. A moment of choice, a moment of truth, a moment of your own. After working with thousands of people around the world, one thing became crystal clear to me. It doesn't matter if you're in New York, Shanghai, or a small town in the middle of nowhere. Every human being deep down wants the same 3 things: to eliminate financial worries, to do what they love, and to be surrounded by people who elevate their energy. But the truth is, most people don't have any of these 3 things. And this doesn't happen because of lack of ability. It happens because they are trapped in paradigms that make it seem like all of this is just a distant dream, something reserved for others, for the lucky ones, for those born with the right connections. And then they spend their whole life trying to fix the effects without ever looking at the cause. The first of these desires, eliminating financial worries, is undoubtedly the most urgent for most people. People don't want to be millionaires just for fun. They want to be able to buy something without checking the price. They want to pay bills on time without needing to put them on credit cards. They want to give their children the gift they asked for without having to calculate if they'll have enough money left for groceries. They aren't asking for luxury. They are asking for peace, freedom, space to breathe. And here's a sincere question. How many times in your life have you missed doing something important, a course, a trip, taking care of your health, because you didn't have enough money? How many times did you say no to yourself because of your bank balance? This is not about lack of effort. It's the result of mental conditioning. A scarcity paradigm that says money is hard, that money doesn't bring happiness, that the more you earn, the more you spend. And the worst part is that this paradigm is so ingrained that the person doesn't realize they are sabotaging their own prosperity every day. They say they want to earn more, but deep down, they believe it will push them away from others, that it will bring more problems, that it's not for them. And this brings me to the second universal desire, doing what they love. Do you know anyone who wakes up excited to work? Do you know someone who gets out of bed with shining eyes, with genuine gratitude for living another day, doing what they were born to do? They are rare. Most people wake up with a weight on their chest. They hit the snooze button 3 times, they get up because they have to, they go to work because they need to pay bills. And this routine gradually drains their soul until they forget who they truly were. But you weren't born for that. You weren't born to be stuck in traffic, following orders from a boss who doesn't inspire you, counting the days until the weekend, as if life were a sentence from Monday to Friday. You were born to create, to express yourself, to contribute something unique that only you have. And if right now you're thinking, Bob, this is beautiful, but I can't quit my job, that's okay. I'm not asking you to do that, but I am asking you one thing. Start making space, even if small, for something you love. It could be 1 hour per week. It could be a side project. It could be something you did when you were a child that made you feel alive. Because when you start reconnecting with what you love, your energy field changes. And when your vibration changes, the world starts responding differently. I remember a lady who came to me at an event in Toronto. She had been a lawyer for 10 years, earning well with a stable career. But she was unhappy. She told me she cried almost every day before entering the office. When I asked her what she loved doing, her eyes lit up. She said, "Since I was a child, I've always loved cooking. It was my refuge." I asked if she still cooked, and she answered, "Not anymore. I don't have time." And right then, I gave her a challenge. I told her to commit to cooking at least once a week for 30 days. No pressure, just to reconnect with what she loved. She agreed. 2 years later, she wrote to me saying that she had quit law and opened a small bistro. Today I do what I love, and for the first time I feel truly alive. And this leads us to the third wish, being surrounded by people who uplift us. Because there's no point in eliminating debt and doing what you love if you're surrounded by negative, critical, bitter people. Have you ever noticed how certain people drain your energy just by being in the room? And others, without saying a word, inspire you just by their presence? The people you surround yourself with directly affect your thoughts, decisions, and even your financial results. It's been scientifically proven that your income tends to be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This is not a coincidence. It's resonance. It's the direct influence of the energy field. Want to thrive? Start getting closer to those who are already on the path. Those who dream, achieve, share. People who celebrate your success, who push you forward instead of holding you back. And if right now you're thinking, "But Bob, no one around me thinks like that," I say to you, start with yourself. Be the change. When you change, your circle will start to change. When you vibrate high, you attract others who vibrate the same. Slowly, your circle will shift. These 3 wishes, eliminating financial worries, doing what you love, and being surrounded by inspiring people, are not luxuries. They are the foundation of a fulfilling life. I know this because I live it today. But it wasn't always like this. I lived the opposite, and maybe that's why I value each of these pillars so much. And if you're listening to me now, maybe you're thinking, "This sounds too good to be true." I understand. I thought the same when I first heard it. But I invite you to ask not, "Is this possible?" but "What would my life be like if it were true?" And allow yourself to imagine it. Allow yourself to feel it. Allow yourself to desire again, because that is the first step to creating. You were not born to survive. You were born to live. Live with freedom, with purpose, and with joy. And if you don't have these 3 things yet, know that they are not far. They are just on the other side of your old paradigm. And it all starts with a choice. Choose to begin, choose to change, choose you. Because when you put yourself at the center of your life, the entire universe arranges itself around you. And everything that once seemed like a distant dream begins to take shape. A shape much more real than you ever imagined. Most people are living in a repetitive mental cycle, constantly experiencing the same fears, worries, and doubts. Then they wonder why their life isn't changing. But here's the cold, hard truth. Unless you change the content of your thoughts, your life will continue reflecting exactly what you've been feeding mentally. Because the mind doesn't distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It simply reacts to the vibration you generate based on what you believe. You have a powerful tool, your conscious mind. With it, you can choose to accept or reject an idea. Choose whether to focus on fear or faith. But you must do it with intention. Because if you don't direct your mind, it will be directed by other forces. Collective fear, bad news, childhood paradigms, other people's opinions. And when you don't decide what to think, you're allowing the world to think for you. And let's be honest, the world is full of noise, fear, and limitations. I remember as if it were yesterday a conversation I had with a young man just starting his career. He approached me after a lecture, telling me he felt completely lost, that he was afraid he wouldn't manage, and that anxiety was keeping him from sleeping. He thought something was wrong with him. But when I asked, "What are the thoughts you've been repeating every day?" he fell silent. He had never thought about that. When we started paying attention together, it became clear. He spent the whole day feeding images of failure, internal criticism, doubts, and comparisons. And he thought it was normal. He thought it was being realistic. But that's not realism. It's unconscious self-sabotage. He was using his mind against himself without even knowing it. So I challenged this young man to do something very simple for 30 days. Every morning he should write 10 times the following phrase: "I am capable, I am confident, I create my reality." And before going to bed, he should visualize in great detail himself achieving what he desired most. At first he felt ridiculous, but I asked him to keep going even without believing it. And he did. 15 days later, he sent me a message saying that for the first time he was able to sleep peacefully. He felt more centered, stronger inside. A month later, he had been promoted. Not because something magical happened, but because he started acting differently, behaving differently, thinking differently, and the world responded to the new vibration he emitted. You don't need to change the world. You need to change what you choose to think. And that, yes, is 100% under your control. It may seem small, but it's the beginning of everything. If you start affirming that you are prosperous, capable, healthy, and confident, even if you don't feel that way at first, over time, your subconscious will accept this as a new pattern. It will then start acting according to this new programming. This is not magic. This is neuroscience. It's repetition and feeling. This is the principle of mental reprogramming. Do you want to change your life? Then start by changing the images you carry inside. Imagine clearly, see yourself winning, see yourself smiling, see yourself receiving, and feel it as real. At first, the world outside won't change, but inside you, something will begin to shift. And what changes inside, changes outside. Steve Jobs once said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." And I'm telling you, you don't need to change the whole world, but you can change your world. When you change your inner world, you become a beacon, and the people around you start changing too. Because example leads. Vibration is contagious, consciousness expands, but it all starts with thought, and thought starts with decision. The decision to take control of your mind. Stop living on autopilot. Stop thinking what others think. Stop repeating what's always been said. You have a power that you may have never used deliberately, the power to think for yourself. Use that power. Use it today, right now. Choose your thoughts like you choose the bricks with which you'll build your own house, because that's exactly what you're doing. Thought by thought. Emotion by emotion. Your life is being created, whether you want it or not. And if everything you've lived so far was created by an unconscious pattern, imagine what you can create once you start thinking with intention. Imagine what your life would be like if you became the master of your own mind. Because when that happens, there are no limits. And what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Because you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the conscious creator of your reality. It all starts with the paradigm you carry and the thoughts you choose to nourish. You're not stuck. You're conditioned. And the good news is that what has been learned can be reprogrammed. If you've understood this, even if only partially, you've already taken a giant step toward a more prosperous, conscious, and aligned life. Now don't stop here. The next video on your screen will help you take another step up this ladder of awareness and evolution. It's your chance to become 1% better than you are right now. And that 1% might be what's missing for everything to begin to change. Thank you for being here with me. I'll see you in the next video. I'll be waiting for you there.